Hello, this week we are going to make some mini fruit cakes. I'm going to change, in the video I'm going to show you a slightly different way of doing it. So I'll show you a slightly more technical way of doing this. On your instructions it says something about putting them all in at once and mixing it. That's fine, that's called the quick mix method and there is nothing wrong with doing that. So if you want to just follow this, go for it. But if you want a slightly more technical way, a way that puts more air into it, so you get a bit more aeration into your ingredients and it's lighter and fluffier, follow this video. I'll show you a slightly different way of doing it. Okay folks, I have 100 of butter, 100 grams in there, and I've just zeroed my scales, and now I'm going to add some sugar. So I want 100 sugar, so there we go. Sugar goes quite quickly. So once I have 100 in there, I'm going to use a fork. Oh, I'm a little bit over. Hey-ho, that'll be alright. If you're a tiny bit over, that's okay, but if you're miles over, you'll need to take some sugar out. So, I've softened the butter a little bit using my microwave. I gave it about 15 seconds, just because it was cold out of the fridge and it makes it a lot harder. So, use a fork and cream it together. So this works really well, and the reason we do this is it will help to aerate your mixture. And I know it seems hard to believe, you think how is this getting air into it, but it does. It will give you a nice light fluffy texture. There is another way you could do this. You could just put all the ingredients in at once and mix it together. That's called the quick mix method, and that's fine, you're allowed to do that, but this is better. This is sort of a professional way, if you like. So, once you've done that, I've creamed the sugar and the fat there, lovely. You could use an electric whisk as well. You will find if you use an electric whisk, it almost goes a little bit white, and that's because you're putting more air into it. So an electric whisk is even better. So, beat the eggs with a fork next. So you'll need a small bowl for this part, and you want to beat a couple of eggs together. So here is my bowl. And a couple of taps to break it. 2 thumbs in, twist. If you get any shell that comes off, you should be able to pick it out, but that looks pretty good. So here's a question. Why am I beating my eggs in here? What's the point? Why would I do that? There's a little bit of something there. I'm just going to take that off. So why would I do that then? Well, the answer is, again, it's all about aeration. I'm trying to get as much air into this as possible. So I'm going to use a fork or a whisk, and I'm going to try and whisk up the eggs now. And once I've whisked these together, that's going to go into my mixture. So I'll cut back when we've done that. I've whisked my egg. I'm going to add it a little bit at a time. So I'll just pop a bit in, put it down, and just keep doing this until it's all mixed together. So there we go, there's the first bit. It's starting to come together. So keep adding it until it's all mixed in. Okay. So once you've done that, you'll be ready for your flour to be sifted in. So I will show you how to do that next. Fantastic, I've mixed those two together. So I have some baking powder here. Now this is a little bit optional. You can add just a small amount, say about that much, maybe half a spoon, into your flour. So I've just done that. You can see it's quite a bright white colour actually. So that will help your mixture rise a little bit more, but you don't want to go mad. If you put too much of this, it won't make it, much better. It won't make it sort of twice the mixture or anything. It will make it taste a little bit funny, almost a bit fizzy. So I would recommend putting a teaspoon in or less. You don't want certainly more than a teaspoon, it will go crazy when you put it in the oven. So I put that into my flour, but equally if you don't have any baking powder, that's fine. Self-raising flour contains baking powder already, so you're already putting some in anyway in your flour. So, sieving. So another question, why am I sieving? What's the point? I think you probably know the answer. But again, it's aeration. I'm trying to get as much air into my cake mixture as possible. So I'm just going to tap that against my hands. God, it's going everywhere. I can tell you it's quite cloudy in here now. Poof, poof. Right, try and fold it in. So take the spoon and just pull it around and just gently try and trap as much of the mixture in as possible. So you can tip the bowl up on the side. Once you've done this, you should end up with a nice light looking mixture, and you have trapped as much air in as possible so that when you cook it, the baking powder will puff up and what's already in the self-raising flour will do the same, and then you'll end up with a really nice light fluffy cake. So that is the plan. So on to the next bit. Right, the way I like to do this is with 2 small spoons. So take your spoons, because it moves around a little bit in the tray, and you can use one against the other to try and fill up your little doily there, a little cake tin. So we get 2 of those and we go like that, and that puts it in there quite nicely. I would say 1 teaspoon is quite a good amount for this, because they will puff up. You'd be surprised at how much they'll come up. So just make sure you've got enough in there but not too much. Now, if that happens, you want to get rid of that because that will just burn in the oven. So try and reach around the outside. You can even wipe it off with your finger. Wash your fingers afterwards. But you don't want any cake mixture on the tray here because it's just going to burn and turn into a black mess. Right, so once I've done these, I like to add my cranberries afterwards because you get, or your fruit, you get better portion control this way. If you put your fruit in the mixture, you might find that one ends up being all fruit, and you can really, there we go, you can really control how much you've got. Use a spoon or the end of a spoon. I know this seems a bit weird, but you can push them in like that just to make sure they're covered, and then you know exactly how many have gone in there. Plus, there we go, plus you can put a little swirl in the top like that, and that'll look really nice once it's baked. So this needs to go into the oven now for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes on 200 centigrade or gas mark 6. Perfect, I'll show you the results in a mo. Okay, I've got my trusty temperature probe, so I've taken these out of the oven. I'm just going to probe that there. 77, 80, yeah, that's fine. So long as it's above 75, that's good. What's the other test, folks? Do you remember? Needs to come out clean, doesn't it? And that's coming out nice and clean. So let's have a look at one of these. I would leave it on a airer like this just to cool for a bit. Your mixture will probably make double this. I ended up using a bit for something else, so that's fine. So I've only made 4, but you could make 8 at home with that amount, I would say. So it should be light and fluffy. Great, we can see our little bubbles there. And if I get a knife, that noise is me getting a knife, I'll just cut into it. Remember, this is hot out of the oven, so I'd probably wait a bit to do this. Ah, there we go. It's nice and light and fluffy. That's what you want. Plenty of air in there, light fluffy cake mixture. Yeah, that looks perfect. So when these have cooled down a little bit, I will eat them. They look great. So enjoy yours, and I will see you next time for the next video. They've cooled down a little bit now. That's good. Oh yeah, I love that. Enjoy.